Welcome, mere mortals, to a slightly rebranded version of the interviews. One and I felt we were having more a conversational style than an interview-based style, so we're rebranding it to the conversations. And today, or not today, but yesterday, I talked with Tanya Hall. Now, Tanya's an Australian foodie, a journalist who has worked with some magazines such as the B-Mag, Brisbane magazine, and who is just a really interesting person. I came across her on Instagram. We talk a little bit about that in the actual conversation, but we just have so many different things going on, and I love her juxtaposition between some of her own personal interests and what she is doing in her life. So we start off the conversation with running mostly. So she is an ultramarathoner, has run 80Ks, 100K races. And we talk about running and I guess the mental state that actually goes into a person while they're running and just some of the intricacies of footwear, of how you should actually do it, how you can start, how you can follow your passion and things like that. Before we get on to a little bit about food, why she got into doing a food sort of blogging, vlogging and journaling. And on Instagram, if you go to her page, Australian Foodie, you can see some of the magnificent photos she takes and things she does with that. Before finally ending up with a little bit about travel, her journey to Spain and having a kid. And I think underlying the whole conversation was the mental mindset and doing things in a way that allows you to get the most out of life, to have the most fun out of life, to not get stuck into certain traps of mentality that are unhealthy. So I really hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did, and I bring you Tanya. Tanya, welcome to a Mere Mortals conversation.
Thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you for being here. It's funny, you get thanked for it. It's like, no, we're here for you. We're here for you. So we like to start off with a mere mortal moment. So do you have something to share with us?
Yeah. My husband and I, during COVID times, we moved out to a farm.
Yep.
So we got a bit boxed in at our little suburban house. And we've recently got goats. So we've got 3 kids.
Nice.
To add to our 1 human kid. And we've got neighbours' cows that just sort of roam in because we've got some fence somewhere that's broken. We haven't done anything to fix it. And the other day I just saw these cows just coming down the paddock to the goat paddock. And I just had this panic moment of, the goats are going to freak out. They're going to see these big cows coming. And
Yeah.
be like, what are these cows doing? So I got a bit worked up, got my boots on, ran out there, and the goats were totally fine. They were just lying there, just chewing something, probably the house.
Yeah, they probably.
And the cows were just looking at them as well. And I thought, how often do you project a feeling or project a situation onto something that actually isn't true?
Yeah, exactly.
I was really getting a bit worked up and scared for the goats and thinking, how am I going to shoo these cows away? And I got there and there was no problem at all.
Yeah, you work it up in your head and then it's
not actually reality.
Exactly. No, that's a good moment.
Yeah.
And something because those just creep up on you as well. You don't notice them. It's in the moment. Oh, I got to react. I got to do something. And
yeah. But you do. We live in a world where you do react to things.
Yeah.
It's then taking that step back afterwards and going, no, actually, it's okay.
Yeah, they were probably more freaked about you running down.
Yeah, what is this crazy woman doing? She bringing food? She's not holding the bucket.
Yeah. That's good. So I came across you via Instagram, which is, it gets a lot of flack nowadays, but Instagram for me is personally the coolest thing. Since I started using it, it's yes, this is fun. And I see the negative sides to it as well. But what captured my attention really was the juxtaposition on your page of the running and then the food. And I love coming across those things where it's some things they sort of connected, but also wait, how do these connect? I don't really get it. So I think we'll start off with the running. So you do ultra marathons. So how did you get into that? I suppose, how does one, there was obviously a time where you probably didn't run and then now it's okay, I'm running 100Ks.
Yeah. It's pretty recent really. So I have a 4-year-old daughter. And before I had her, I didn't really run.
Yep.
So when she was born, I struggled at the start. I had a bit of postnatal depression.
Yep.
Just because I didn't really know what I was doing and there was no one really around me to say, you're doing all right. You're doing everything fine as a mum. But, you'd read these books and think, I need to be doing this and then she needs to be reacting like this. But she didn't read the book, so she wasn't reacting that way. So she wasn't sleeping the way she was meant to. I know. Yeah. She wasn't sleeping. I was doing all these steps and now in hindsight, I realised I was putting pressure on myself to be not perfect mum, but to reach like a high level of mumdom, essentially. I didn't see it at the time. I just thought I'm doing everything wrong because it's harder than I feel it should be. Everyone else seems to have this mum thing down. But anyway, when I just sort of relaxed a lot more and gave myself permission to enjoy it, things just fell into place like really easily. I asked for help. It's great. Had heaps of help, heaps of support. Then I started running as something just for me. So I'd go out to mum and dad's, drop my little one off and just go for a little run.
Yeah.
So it started as 1K, 2Ks.
And so I guess what was that trigger for starting? Like you would have done it once maybe and then found some clarity while doing it, or just you felt really good afterwards, like the stress was dropping off?
It was exercise, so I couldn't get to the gym. I didn't want to waste time committing to a gym, whereas running, I could get to mum and dad's, put on some shoes and just go out for a run really quick. It was really convenient.
Yeah.
And then I realised being outside, I really liked that.
Yeah.
Because I used to just go to the gym and not really think about it. But there's such a mental health component to running outside or doing anything outside.
For sure. I think it's, I don't know the actual stats, but I think in America at least, it's like at least 50% of people are vitamin D deficient. Like it's a huge percentage.
I'm actually curious to know what it is out here because we put so much sunscreen on. Doesn't that stop vitamin D absorption as well?
It probably would a bit, but it's, I guess, like if you're outdoors more just in general, like even just like little bits of sun day to day is probably healthy. But we're all trapped in our rooms. I mean, we've got it pretty lucky here in Queensland, but for everyone else, trapped in their apartments or houses or something, not able to get out. That's not good.
No, not at all. And I guess it sort of built up from there. So then I ran from memory, it's like a 4-kilometer event, just as a little fun run thing. I just love the atmosphere of that because all these people were just sort of getting together. Initially I was a bit nervous because I hadn't been running much and I thought I'm not going to do very well. But no one cared about that. Everyone's just happy to be out together. There's like a kids play thing at the end, so it became a family day.
Nice.
Then I ran a 10K event, then I ran a half marathon,
then I
ran a marathon. And I think at this stage, my husband's joking, like, you just keep going. I'm like, no, you don't. Then I ran 50Ks and then I entered the 100Ks and I've got another 100K in 2 weeks.
Wow. Yep. So when was your first 100K? Like, sounds quite recent.
The first 100K event, which I only did 80K of, was a couple of weeks ago. Yep. So that was a loop in Brisbane City.
Okay.
It was at 2.5K out, 2.5K back, so a 5K loop.
Yep, and then
over and over again.
And then you just go.
Yeah, and then at midnight that extended to a 10K loop, so you could go out a bit further.
Okay,
and then come back.
Wow, so that was a full event organised?
Yeah, it's called the River Run 100.
Yep.
That's lots of fun because you get to see the same people over and over again.
Yeah, of course you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah, so you make friends essentially along the way and you get to know them a bit.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really good.
So it seems like it's a lot of the social atmosphere that you're getting into it as well.
Yeah, well, it boosts you along. It's easier to do a marathon when there's heaps of other people doing a marathon around you. Because everyone's just keen and happy and having a crack at it. I did the Gold Coast Marathon last year and I did it virtually this year. But just last year, all the people who are out there, they're just throwing lolly snakes at you, they're cheering you on, they're holding up funny signs. It's just a party.
Nice.
Like while you're straining and stressing. It's,
exactly.
all fun around you.
Exactly. So when you're doing them then, I guess, I know me and Juan, just our mentality is like we always try and push it. We're always trying to we'll set a goal and it's like we have to reach this goal. We're going to get it we set a goal this year of actually doing a marathon. And it's like we want to try and do it in less than 4 hours. So we really pushed it like that.
Why do you want to do that?
Sort of the mental aspect and sort of health aspect as well. So I'm really into calisthenics. So I go outdoors all the time. I used to go to the gym and it was, I have nothing against gyms. They're great.
It serves its purpose.
But it's after, the 100th Taylor Swift song or the banger and then people jumping and doing all sorts of weights. It's like, no, I want to get outdoors. I want to hear the birds chirping, the wind, the sun on my face. And that's probably a big one as well. But I noticed I went to just a random exercise group here in Brisbane because I was trying to, so I speak Spanish and I'm like trying to keep that here. So basically to do that, you need to be speaking with other Latinos.
Yep.
And they had this group. So I went there and I thought, I'm going there for the social aspect and the exercise will be sort of like the secondary. because they were just doing, air squats and lunges and things like that for 45 minutes. And it just ruined me. I realized, oh my God, I have no cardio in me anymore. Like all I've got is sort of like strength-based movements.
Yeah, right.
So that was like a good click moment. Like, okay, no, maybe you should start doing some cardio again, because I don't like realizing just how bad I am at something.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
So for me, it was definitely the just getting that cardio back and something. And it's like a marathon. It's always been hanging there. It's like, yeah, I'll do one of those one day. So that's sort of my reason for it. But yeah, when you go running, are you setting yourself times? Are you diving into that?
I used to do that quite a lot. And I think when you start, that's a great place to start.
Yeah.
And people just keep doing it and it works for them. But now I really run from a place of fun, and I try and keep it like that. I try and keep it really light and happy. And like when I did that last 100K attempt, I was smiling throughout so much of it and yelling out to other people, running backwards and forwards. And I remember one guy, he like passed me for, I don't know what it was, the 15th time. And he was just like, you're still smiling. And I was just like, yeah, it's great. And then I passed him next time and I made a really sad face. And then he just like lost it then and started laughing. And then every time I ran past him, I'd make a funny face at him. To, I don't know, like I was genuinely in that moment in a place of lightness and finding fun in that moment.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was watching your episode on Buddhism recently, and one of the tenets there is that all life is suffering. But I really believe the opposite. I think life's actually meant to be fun.
Yeah,
and if you can tap into that, you're just in that flow state. Like you find the slipstream of life, and you're still having a crack at something. You're still being serious about it, and setting goals and things that you want to achieve. But you can actually enjoy the journey a bit more instead of just hating, saying, I haven't hit this time, my pace is terrible, I'm going to write this whole thing off. You can get dejected really quickly.
Yeah.
And I went on a run this morning and, got hot quickly because I had to start late because I had to drop my little one off at mum and dad's. My pace was great for the first 8K, and then I just felt hard.
Yeah.
And I used to sort of fight against that. I used to try and trick myself and be like, no, it's all good. I feel good. It's totally fine. But now I find it's just better to allow and accept the moment. And I think that's sort of true in life, like accepting more, that's sort of carried on into life, like just accepting what you feel in the moment. So it's not necessarily accepting a bad situation.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that ever. Yeah. But you can accept whatever feelings come up inside of you at that time. So like at that running moment, I accepted that I felt crap about my running, and accepted that I wasn't doing a good job and just needed to walk for a bit. So I just did 30 steps and then ran again, did 30 steps and ran again. And when you accept those negative feelings, it's amazing how quickly they just flow through you.
Yeah.
Then I began telling myself, it's okay, you can do this, you're doing well. And when I've accepted the negative feelings, I can accept all those positive talk that I'm, throwing at myself afterwards. Whereas if I try and just cover it up and just say, no, you're doing great, keep going.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not.
Yeah.
I know for all these different reasons, this isn't great pace for me. I know I'm lying.
Yeah.
So it's trying to get around that.
I've always found motivation, especially like motivational videos, sort of be like Band-Aid solutions. Like they're just... It
is, yeah. It's covering what's really there.
Yeah. I had a analogy of sort of like just like a moldy wall or something. You just keep painting over it, and but the mold will keep coming back, and you just keep painting over it, and then
you can just accept the mold.
Yeah. And then there's the sort of salesman right next to the wall saying like, yeah, buy this paint. Like this paint will fix it for sure. You just could do these 5 daily things, and it's I'm not knocking against it. Whatever works for people.
It will work for a while.
Yeah,
you won't see the mold.
Yeah, exactly. So just with the talk then that goes on inside of your head when you're doing it. So I've just recently started running again. So just doing like 5Ks once every couple of days, and I'm getting back into that sort of mind state I used to have when running, which is you can't think of anything else. Like I guess it's weird. Like you're just alone with you when you're running. Like you don't have the distraction, you don't have whatever, and I find my mind going to like just all over the place. It was like when I started meditating for the first time. You really sit down and just look, and you go, "Oh my God, what is going on inside of here? This is mayhem." What do you experience, I guess, when you're running? Like mentally, do you concentrate on, just the next step, or you're just enjoying like the atmosphere, or what are the thoughts that go on?
I think of running like meditation on steroids, especially when you run distance. So like a marathon and above. I mean, you get it with a half marathon too. But so I've gone through lots of different stages of thinking about what's around me and having, like you said, all these random thoughts that come through my head, having conversations with people in my head.
Yeah,
you're just in your own little world, really. But I find it's actually a really good way. You get into a bit of a zone, and if you start start it with mantras, which is quite common with running, like I can do it, keep going, those kind of mantras, but actually sort of life mantras. I start on those a bit. And it's just whatever feels right in the moment. Like this morning, I was running through some bushland and it was so beautiful. I just did the loop again, reverse. And I just kept saying, like, life is beautiful over and over again in my head, because it was. Like, there's trees everywhere, there were birds.
Yeah.
There's no one else around me. It was really awesome. And it was so easy to repeat that over and over again. And before I knew it, I'd done 8 kilometres.
Yeah.
Just repeating that over and over again. And I also find when I say things like that, the day just flows so well for me. It's like I've set myself at this really high level of expectation for life to be beautiful, or for good things to happen, and they just do. It's great. For sure.
And does it change, I guess, like at the start compared to the finish? Like, so if you're 40 Ks in and you realize like, oh God, I've got another 40 or 60 Ks or whatever, do other thoughts start to creep in, like more negative ones when you're getting to the longer stages?
It's different at this stage of my life for some reason. And I think that's just been the practice of this running and all my little positive affirmations, whatever you want to call them. But when I did my 50K last year, I really struggled, and I got to about just over half a marathon and I really hurt my leg.
Yeah.
And I just had to walk the rest of that event pretty much. But I power walked and I jogged, I power walked and I just kept going. But the pain was there. So I just kept counting to 100 over and over again in my head. I did that for about 10 kilometers.
Yeah.
I was driving myself insane by counting. Went to 100, went backwards from 100, tried it in French, forgot how to, couldn't do it backwards, it's too hard. Just tried anything just to keep thinking of something kind of neutral.
Yeah.
And just to keep going. What was the question?
I suppose just like the mental thoughts, like the aspects of what goes inside of your head, and are there like techniques or tips which help or don't help?
That one helped, trying to just count numbers, trying to be neutral about it, I guess. Just sort of reaching for the best thought you can at that moment.
Yeah.
And if that's like observing something beautiful, like observing trees, flowers, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then if you've already got that, you can take it to that next step and just try repeating something awesome about life and see how far that takes you.
For sure. I found myself, there's a really bad way of putting it, but I call it making myself dumb. And I intentionally, one of the problems I used to have was I would just get in really have those self-talks, conversations with myself, or this other person, this did this thing, and it just goes on. And I found like the way of getting around that for me is sort of entering into a mode where it's sort of like turning something off. Like I'm turning something off in my brain.
You catch that you're doing it.
Yeah.
And then you quickly look at something else and just think of something else.
Yeah, or it's like, it's really hard to describe, because I apply it to like a bunch of different things. So, like if I'm doing some breathing exercises in the morning and I see, I start to think, I could maybe shift it. So I'm taking like really long ones in, then short ones out, and like, experimenting when I don't need to. Like I should just be doing what I'm meant to be doing. I find like there's a way of like, okay, just no, don't think about it anymore. And I call it making myself dumb. I know there's a better way of putting it, but
it's just sort of getting out of your head, really, isn't it? And try to sort of feel your way into things more and go along with that.
Yeah, and so you found running does that for you? Like getting yourself out of your head?
Yeah. So it does. And it also makes you look at things differently, I think. I was at work the other day and someone said to me, are you limping? Because my hip's been sore and everyone knows it. He said, you got a sore hip? And I just said, the other one's going really well. Like, it's really strong. And he just kind of looked at me and I thought, I answered that really weird, didn't I? But that's how I think when I'm running. Like, if something starts to go, I think, well, the other knee's great. That's fine. Actually, both my knees went a bit this morning. I thought my elbows are fine. go elbows.
Yeah.
Just try, think to your strength really.
That's cool. I like that. I'm gonna try that sometime. That's a fun one. How and another one I've been actually. This is just a purely personal question for me. What sort of shoes do you wear while running? Because I've been getting into sort of like barefoot running or like minimalism.
Yep.
Not putting too much pressure on like too cushioned or too hard surfaces. What do you use?
Things.
Yeah.
I personally have wide feet, and so I started with New Balance, tried going minimalist, got a bit of an injury because I did it too fast. I didn't sort of take the time I would have needed to get down to that.
You went straight from shoes to like running on bare pebbles and rocks.
Just like flat, completely no support. So that didn't really work out for me at that point. Went back to my New Balance. Then I tried the opposite way. And have you heard of Hoka? Those shoes? They're really they're like that thick. It's like the opposite of minimalism. It's like super support structure. That didn't work. Back to New Balance. So and every time I've tried a few others as well. I just keep going back to New Balance. For a wide foot, it works really well.
Yeah, just
but
finding
any other foot type, I couldn't recommend it.
Yeah, for sure. It's I'm just trying to think, like when I was a kid, most of my friends, they were already using orthopedics when they were like 9 years old.
Yeah, really.
And I'm not sure if that was from playing soccer and like the boots you were wearing, 'cause, you're jamming your feet into these like tight things because sort of the tighter it is on your foot, the more balance and control you have. But yeah, I've just started like that just triggered in my memory recently and went like that can't be right. Why are kids using like orthopedics for like their feet are still growing? Like what's going on there?
Have you read Christopher McDougall's book, Born to Run?
It's been on. It's one of those books on the periphery. Like I'm aware of it, but I've got a whole book list.
That one, I don't know anyone who's read that and then not been inspired to become an ultra runner, basically, because he talks about running barefoot, because he talks about meeting up with the Tarahumara tribe, native Indian tribe in Mexico, and they're the world's best endurance runners. So they run barefoot, but they also run from a place of just loving running. And he talks about why that's really important. Like it's a self-talk as well. You can tell yourself, you have to do this, you have to hit these goals. But if you genuinely love it, you'll just do it and you'll ace it. Like you'll enjoy that journey of running as well. Yeah.
That's a good recommendation for a book, like a good pre-warning.
Yeah.
Be prepared to start spending 10 hours of your day.
Pretty much, yeah.
How long did the 80Ks take you? Like,
it was 12 hours of running time.
Yeah.
So I started at like 7-ish at night from memory.
Yeah.
And ran through the night.
Yeah.
The next run I've got starts at 6 o'clock in the morning and I'll go through the day, but that's got half the elevation of Everest. So that's a lot. That's different.
Yeah.
So there's going to be loads of hills.
For sure.
Definitely walking up the hills over 100K.
Yeah. Yeah.
But have you ever heard of Jeff Galloway as well? His run walk method?
No.
He was a US Olympian in 1972. And I'm pretty sure he also set the 10-mile road race record at one time. So he's a runner. Like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He really advocates. He's quite old now. He really advocates the run walk method, which is just he took a bunch of people who weren't runners and tried to get them up to like 5Ks and 10Ks. And he realized quickly that in order for them to like start training for those distances to make the distance, they'd have to run walk. So he just sort of structured a run walk method. So run for a certain period of time, walk for a certain period of time, run, walk. And then at the end of like 10 weeks, they had a little exam and they all finished 10K. No one had any injuries. Everyone had a good time. So they all got to enjoy running. So he kept them on, kept trying this method out, entered them into a marathon, and they beat a lot of the veterans because a lot of the people who'd run the whole thing got injured, got fatigued quickly, so then ran slower, but they had to keep running. They kept going. People doing the run walk sort of saved themselves up, still did the distance, still got all the benefits of running, all the benefits of being in an event. But it's basically giving yourself permission to do that run walk. Yeah. And when you do it in a structured way, you still have awesome pace times. Like from memory, if you want to do 6 minutes a kilometre, you do 90 seconds running, 30 seconds walking.
Oh, wow.
Over and over again. And you save your body. Like I said, today I had a bit of a struggle moment. So I just did 30 steps walking and start running again. 30 steps is kind of 30 seconds in my head.
Yeah.
And I just did that over and over again for about 300 metres. And then I felt rested enough to just do another burst of running.
Yeah, okay, nice.
So,
I'm going to have to look that up because I've always just struggled with pace. Even playing soccer, I was always like on the outside areas where you sprint and then you sort of like walk back and jog, whereas the people in the middle are sort of always just, they're just going. They got ticker, like something inside of them is just able to go forever.
just
And
keep on going.
yeah, I can't do that. I can't do that. So I naturally been sort of doing something similar to that.
Yeah, well, and there are, if you just Google run walk methods, there are heaps of different structures out there that you can try and follow.
Okay,
you don't have to do it for the whole time. Like you can run while you feel good.
Yeah, exactly.
And then just shove that in when you're feeling a bit low, and then you're picked up again.
Yeah. Would you ever come across people in like a marathon then who would, you know, sort of be shouting out encouragement though, if you're walking to pick it up again? Like, oh yeah, keep going.
No, some people start, I've seen like 70-year-olds start a half marathon and they just walk the whole thing. And they are loving life. They're just smiling. They're there to like have a good time. They're waving at everyone. They're taking forever, but they don't mind.
Yeah,
out there
just doing your own thing.
Yep, and they do it. They do 21Ks.
Yeah, nice.
They walk.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So cool. All right, I think we'll get on to the food aspect now, which is the other one, which was like, okay, how do you combine these two? So you've been like a foodie, I suppose you'd call yourself that. I mean, it's your Instagram handle. So
yeah. I've written about food in magazines, reviewed restaurants, just like trying weird different recipes. So I've been doing that a bit lately. I used to speak on 612 ABC about events and food happening in Brisbane. Used to write for BMag, which was a magazine that doesn't exist anymore, sadly.
Yeah.
Was their food reviewer.
I tried going to that website and it took me to some very strange places. Like
really?
Yeah, the link to it now goes to like some sort of, I think it was like a dreamscape, like trying to sell you something related to sleep or something.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I just went down this like little rabbit hole and went, oh, okay. No, I don't think this is right. Here's a fun one for you though. Do you know when you wrote your first article on...
I want to say 2013.
Yeah. It was...
End of the year?
30th of the 10th, 2013 on Penny's Mulberry Jam. So I was going back just so you have like a blog as well.
I do, yeah.
So I was just going through some of that. And that's really fun. Like I like that you're not restricting yourself to just one thing, like reviews of restaurants, because you're also doing, reviews of like a jam and like a kumquat squash, I can't remember what that was. A recent one
I made some kumquat jam.
Yeah, that's
recently.
That's it.
Yep. Yeah. And then I realized like a year ago to the day I'd made some candied kumquats. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Just like 365 days from my kumquat jam. Just watch this space.
Yeah. And so what got you into that like initially? Because you're a journalist by trade, right?
Yeah. I used to do technology journalism. So I lived in the UK for a while and I did that over there. But don't really have a natural interest in technology. So when we came back to Australia, we went down at the Mornington Peninsula, just had a little holiday down there, and it's just such a great foodie area. Like there's so many local producers. They're passionate about what they make. They just go in about, I remember going to a cider brewery, is that the right word for it?
Yep.
And they were just going on and on about how awesome their cider was and really getting into it. And so many people down there that we met kept saying, oh, I'm not just very good at marketing though, so I can't really get this out there.
Yeah.
I just thought there's so many great stories here. We should try and, I don't know for what it's worth. I thought I'll make a little blog and I'll try and get some of your stories out there. And it started with that. So it's just a fun thing to do on the side.
Yep.
And it's just evolved as my life has evolved. So when I got pregnant, I couldn't really go out and do the restaurant reviews as much. I had to keep turning down because of dietary restrictions, and then having a little one, I couldn't go out to dinners as easily.
Yeah.
Which is why it's just sort of weird recipes at the moment.
Yeah. Just a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But that's fun as well. Seeing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I like it. It's where I am in life. So.
Yeah, nice. And I guess like did you find that your journalism skills were good, like transferring over into like I guess the media aspect? Because it's not like a direct relation, I guess, because you went to uni in like the early 2000s, so social media wasn't.
Yeah, you're right.
Wasn't
it's
existing
totally different.
then.
We didn't even have smartphones back then.
Yeah.
We were just playing Snake.
Yeah.
I was doing lectures.
Yeah, my first my first phone was a little Motorola Coca-Cola one with Snake was the game on it.
So it's different. So when I was in the UK, I mean, luckily over there things were a bit ahead of Australia, so that's where I got into it and learnt like digital journalism a lot faster. So that was, fine to translate over. But I just like writing, and I just like telling interesting stories. So that's where it's all come from.
Yeah. So this is actually a good one. So getting into like a passion like that, something where, if people looked at it at the start, they might go, why are you starting this? Like,
why are you bothering?
Why are you doing it? Like, what's the point? Like, how are you ever going to make money from this? You're spending so much time on this. Like, what sort of like convinced you to keep going, I guess, through those initial periods, or not even convince you to keep going? Did you see like there was things you were doing in the past and then you just sort of applied it into a new medium? So like you did writing, journaling for yourself before that?
I've always liked writing, and it was just fun to do. So I've always kept a day job at the same time, and I still have a day job now, and that's where the money comes in.
Yeah.
So I have no money pressure on my creative side, which just works for me. I just like separating it. And lots of people think you need to do a creative thing, and then that has to be your money earner. And that's awesome if that works and that's how you want to play it. But I just don't like that pressure of having to then create for cash and review things I may not want to review. Write about things I may not really care about.
Yeah.
So if I keep them separate, I feel a lot freer with what I get to write.
For sure.
And I just get to do different things too. I mean, lately I've gotten into crochet, which has nothing to do with food or running.
Yeah.
But we have chickens, so I crocheted them little hats one Friday night. Nothing else. We're in the country. We don't have, we're down to ADSL internet again. So Netflix doesn't work very well out there. Just began crocheting the chickens' hats. Crocheted my goats some little flower chains.
Nice.
Now you may end up seeing like lots more crochet on my blog and Instagram.
We'll
Who knows
look out for
going?
it. Yeah. You could be, applying the two, making like little crochet things for jams to put like a jam in and whatnot.
CWA.
Yeah.
my bid for membership.
So, I guess like following your passion, then what drove you to like the food? Have you always loved food as well? Like, is there any like strong memories from childhood or something that's made you go like dive into the whole foodie world?
My mum's probably not going to listen to this, so she's not a great cook. So my poor mum. So I had a lot of takeaway as a kid, and parents were very busy too. So it was very, meat and veg kind of, very, very basic food growing up. I didn't really know how to cook. When I met my husband, I was young. I was engaged at 19 with him.
Yeah.
And I remember I didn't even know how to make pasta when I'd met him. I just hadn't bothered to cook or anything.
Yeah.
So he got me started on all those kinds of things, which I'm very grateful for. And then, I just began realizing, if you read a recipe, you make this food and it's easy. You can have a crack at it.
Yeah.
Just sort of went from there. There's no, I don't have that beautiful story of like my nonna used to make
exactly.
I mean, my mum used to cook spam quite a lot. So that's my upbringing.
Well, that's even funner, like not having like a particular story. Like it's sort of just something that evolves over time. Like you can't link it directly to something. It's just, it's just this now.
I think it's kept me quite open now because I'm still happy to eat spam. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
If that comes across my plate, that's not a problem. Or if I go to Aria, that's fine too. So
you're not getting caught up, I suppose, in like almost like you're caught up in the past. My nonna used to make it this way. And,
so you have to keep making traditional way, which is totally fine as well. But
yeah. So what's like the craziest thing you've made, or the hardest thing you've personally cooked?
The hardest thing.
Because I'm just remembering, like I like to dabble in cooking, but I wouldn't say it's like my passion. I like eating certain foods, and I'll cook them myself. But I was going through like a baking phase, which at the time was terrible because I was living with people who didn't enjoy sweet stuff. So I'd bake a whole cake, and then it's like, I gotta eat this whole cake. I guess I'm doing it, which it's fine. I love sweet stuff. I have a real big sweet tooth, so. But I was trying to cook this one thing and just get like I had the recipe on the book. It was really simple. But there was just this one step of mixing like the chocolate with the cream, and like I just never got it right. It always sort of froze or freezed up where it didn't mix properly.
Yeah.
And I tried this thing like 3 times, and it was a good experiment to fail because I still had an edible cake thing.
You get something at the end of it. That's it. You get your own spin on it.
Yeah.
I'm more like getting sort of weird ingredients and then popping them together and see what you come out with. So, this wasn't my recipe to start with, but beer damper has been such an eye-opener.
Okay.
It's 3 ingredients and one of them's beer. And then it's flour and cheese. Mix it all together and you get beautiful soft damper.
Okay.
It works so well.
What is that? Does it have the sort of beery taste to it, or it's
very slight? It just tastes like really good damper.
Yeah,
The beer makes it really soft. And I'm sure someone with a chemistry background could tell you exactly why. To me, it's just beer magic.
Yeah.
But it's delicious and it works really well.
Yeah, nice.
So I've been making that, and when people come over, put that out with some dips and pate and whatever, and you look really fancy. But it's just 3 ingredients, and it costs you like $1.
Nice. But does it have like a high a high cost of like time investment to make it?
No, you literally put all those things in a bowl, mix it. 40 minutes.
Nice. Okay. Because I've seen some of the bread. I went down a bread rabbit hole not too long ago.
Yeah, some of them can be tricky. Sourdough.
Yeah.
Doing a starter.
Yeah, those big ones. Yeah, so that people have their own yeast that they've had for like 5 years and separated in different things, and you cook it for this long. And I started getting into it. I was like, yeah, man, I like bread.
I'm quite impatient. I need to get things done. So
yeah. And those ones, so you take it out, you knead it for 40 minutes, and then you put it back in, but you got to be careful, like not too long, and then bring it out again. But watch out, it's like
that's a high maintenance recipe.
Yeah,
it's too much.
It was like 12 hours of effort and time for admittedly a very beautiful looking bread, but I'm not sure it's it would taste 12 hours.
If you're having fun during that whole process, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
If you're getting to the point where you're hating your bread, it's probably a sign to just go down to the baker.
Of course. The one other thing I wanted to ask you about was the Broccoli Volcano, which was a story you wrote, I guess, quite a while ago when you were traveling in Spain. And your daughter was like looking at things through the eyes of a child. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't just like, a dead volcano. It was a broccoli volcano because it had all these trees coming off it and whatnot. Yeah. What was it like traveling with a child to Spain, and like I suppose we all know like the negatives of what that would be like traveling with a child. It's pretty easy to think of, but what were some of like the positives of doing that? And she was 2 years old.
She was 2. Yeah. Yep. And she's always been a non-sleeper, and she was like key non-sleeper at that point. So she didn't sleep the whole flight basically to Spain, Australia, with a stopover in Dubai or back. That was probably the main negative, but everything else was really awesome. So it was a very different trip. You're used to going overseas with friends. You can do whatever you want. If you want to do a cooking class or something, or if you want to go for a run, do a bike ride, go for a hike, your time is free to do whatever you want.
Yep.
When you have little kids, you do have to work around their schedule, to a certain, people do it to different degrees. But you can still, we got a carrier, we lugged her on our back and just kept going around and figuring out a good balance between, for me to get my runs in, for my husband to get some cycling in, and for us to all spend time as a family and explore our little area together. So the Broccoli Volcano, we had her on our backpacks and we did a big hike. It was Mother's Day in Spain when we did that. And it was just a hike. Like, so you have all the experiences of different weather, rain, just looking at all these different things. And because we had her with us, since having her, you see life through her eyes a lot more. So when the rain came, she was like, woohoo, rain. Whereas, my husband and I were a bit like, oh.
Yeah, no, I'm going to get damp.
Yeah, it was going to get wet. And we got another 4 hours to walk. And we're switching her on our backs because she's getting quite heavy.
Yeah.
We didn't bring enough food because we thought we'd find food somewhere, but no, there was no food. But she was really like, woohoo, rain. And it just reminded you to stop and feel the rain in that moment instead of getting annoyed with rain, which is ridiculous. You can't control the rain. You might as well enjoy being there. And because she just enjoys life so much. And so many times I just, I can be in a bit of a, not necessarily a bad mood, but I'm a destination focused. I'm like, got to get dinner done, got to get the showers done, got to get all this next step done. And she's just like throwing things in the air and having a good time in that moment. And I look at her and I think, it'll be fine. Things will get done. I'll just enjoy what I'm doing now. And so traveling with her was kind of like that amplified, all those moments amplified.
Nice,
yeah. So she was just sort of like learning to speak then. And we had a volcano and had trees all over it. And she was like, Broccoli Volcano. Which isn't that funny really, but coming from her, I was like, oh, that's really cute.
Yeah.
And then later on I was running around the Pyrenees, and it was hard because it was quite steep mountains.
Yeah.
I was looking around and I was having that moment of, oh, this is really hard. I'm not doing very well. And I just saw these mountains with trees all over it. And I just heard her voice in my head go, Broccoli Volcano. And I thought, it is a Broccoli Volcano. It's okay. Lighten up. Just enjoy it. You're in Spain. This is awesome. What are you complaining about? So, yeah, that's my little...
That's nice. That's nice. And it's cool having like, I guess, it's almost like forced upon you in a way. Like you can't tell her like, no, it's rain, like this is bad. Well, I mean, I suppose you could, and which would be not a cool thing to do to a child who's obviously having fun.
She reminds me of like what I said at the start, to live life from a place of fun, because that's what she naturally does, and that's what kids naturally do. And as adults, we've totally forgotten that. Like we just think life's hard, and we sort of struggle against life a lot more, and that's what our natural mental state. Whereas if you look at kids, they're just in the moment. They're just loving it.
Yeah.
They're just like the amount of times I have to tell my daughter, she's gotten out of the shower, I'm like, put clothes on. Because she sees something, she just goes over there and she's really interested in this, I don't know, dot on the floor. She's just so in the present and so living life from a place of pure joy.
Yeah.
And I try and capture that back again. Like I think maybe as adults, or as an adult myself, just gone too far in my head. And just trying to live through feeling happy and feeling fun and feeling joy in each moment.
Yeah.
It's just it's something I'm very conscious of in my day to day.
Yeah.
And it's something that's been in my running and has helped it a lot and helped me want to do another ultra, want to do another event.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost like it's a choice to. It's hard because everyone has those tough moments in life, whether it's your parents getting ill, you've got problems, your relationship, whatever it is, money problems, they all come up, and it's, I guess, like trying to balance that between, like you said, like looking through the eyes of a child and just really enjoying life, and then also recognizing like, oh, okay, there's physical problems here that need fixing, and I need to use my like logical, rational brain to fix that.
But I think also that comes down to what I mentioned before, accepting that you feel bad in that moment, and that's okay, that something negative is happening right in front of you.
Yeah.
And it's out of your control. But overthinking it and going down that wormhole of having no control of the situation and feeling really terrible about it doesn't really get you anywhere.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just sort of accept your reaction of this is not good, and then just trying to, you still need to be positive in those moments too.
Yeah.
Maybe even more so than your day-to-day life.
Yeah. Would you say you struggle with that, like in your earlier years, or you've always sort of had a mentality of I guess like optimism, I guess would probably be one of the best ways of putting it.
I wouldn't say I've struggled with it. And I've had various people throughout my life say, oh, you're optimistic. So they've said it.
Yeah.
I said I'm quite positive. So I guess it depends who you compare me to. Probably when I had my daughter and that first year, which I mentioned I struggled with.
Yeah.
That was my big struggle moment.
Yeah.
And that was where I was sort of really pushing myself for sort of personal development and thinking I can't just spiral down. I want to be a good mum, and I want to enjoy life, and I want her to enjoy life.
Yeah.
I don't want to put too much pressure on myself. And
so what maybe like resources did you find that helped you I guess get out of that?
It was asking for more help, which I didn't naturally do back then.
Yeah.
I do more now because I need help in life. And because she wasn't sleeping, I wasn't sleeping. And so that's just, it's torture.
Yeah.
Your personality changes. You just can't think logically, and it's hard. So that's a big one, asking for help. I did go see a psychologist, I saw a social worker, and she was great because she just saw me interact with my daughter, and she said, you're doing really well. And just having a complete stranger say that to me, and someone who knew what she was talking about, that took so much weight off my shoulders, which I didn't realise I was carrying. I thought, oh, it's actually okay.
Yeah.
So it's a few things.
Yeah, I think, and sort of both of those get to, talking, I guess, which is, you think it's funny, you'd think you wouldn't really need to do it. Like why would you talk? Like you're already sort of talking in your head. Why would you actually,
say it out loud to say
and it's like you could say these things to a mirror and it would have no effect, but you say it to another person, and even like that's what therapists are. They essentially just listen to you most of the time. A good therapist should just listen and maybe add like a couple of bits of insight, like you had. But I've noticed with the podcasting, for example, my thoughts are just so much clearer nowadays. Like,
now that you talk about it.
Yeah.
It's
and
really interesting.
Yeah, it's funny because like I naturally don't, I suppose in the past, I wouldn't talk that much. And even in like big group conversations, I've always been rather introverted. So I'd sort of stick to the back, but I'd always like to listen.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to see now the benefits of actually just talking more, and even if it's, doing like a book review where I'll just literally like talk to the camera.
Yep.
It's something about it, like really, I don't know what it is, but it helps like get your own thoughts in order, in a way.
You're just getting it out there somehow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's, I don't want to use the word manifestation, like you talk it into existence, but it's something along like maybe like 1% of that.
Maybe it just comes down to a human need to communicate as well. Like maybe we do just need, you can't just live as an island on your own. People do, but
yeah,
when you connect with people, you connect with society, communities, running communities. Maybe that's why those running events are so much more fun and easier than running on your own, because you're with people and you have that social connection.
Yeah, I've started, so I do calisthenics, so like a lot of that's just sort of handstands and like pull-ups and things like that. And right near the Gabba, there's like a big workout sort of area, like a outdoor gym, I guess you call it. And yeah, for me, I'm like really focused. When I go to places, I'm usually like, I have my book with all my exercises written down, and I write how many sets and numbers I get. But I'm growing more appreciative of actually just going there and having fun with other people there. Not being the person sort of like sitting in the corner, like, almost like Gollum, like hunched up, writing my numbers down and going up doing my thing.
There's benefits both ways. Like, I don't think you need to pigeonhole yourself as one way or the other.
Yeah.
You can just do what feels right that day, what your body's like up for. Some days you don't feel like chatting.
Yeah.
It's a good time to just do some handstands on your own.
Yeah. Do I've heard sort of two things. This getting back into the mindset of running. I've sort of heard two mentalities. One is sort of like getting out the demons. So people like getting real in their head, just being like almost angry inside their own head and using that as a drive to get through. Whereas I think you're more of a positive, using positivity. Have you talked about this with like any other?
So my
runners?
Husband cycles a lot. When we went to Spain, he took his bike. They did some great cycles up there. And he's that kind of person. So he yells at himself in his head. He's the complete opposite of me when he does his endurance.
Yeah.
Last year he went up Kosciuszko. I can't remember the event name, but it was a massive event. And Kosciuszko was the last bit of that leg. And he said people were just like, got up there, began snowing, and people just began throwing their bikes on the side and saying, I'm done, this is too much.
Yeah.
But he kept going, and he did it because he was like being angry with himself and doing his usual, and that works for him, and that's totally fine. I'm not saying my positive thinking is the way for everyone by any stretch. And I think when I started running, I was doing a bit of the whole demon thing, like, you can do it, come on. Yelling at myself a bit more, but I just enjoy running more when I'm happy about it. Just whatever works for you, I guess, in that moment.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I vacillate between the two. Sometimes I
don't want to say one way is right, because they both get you that same goal. Like, you get to your end point. I just enjoy the journey more if I'm happy rather than if I'm yelling at myself. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And
those endorphins just feel better at the end when I've gone that way and managed to keep quite positive.
Yeah, and it's so much of life is just about almost habits and routines, making things good and easy. So like learning Spanish, for example, Juan's Colombian, so I could speak Spanish with him whenever I wanted, but he speaks really fast and he's got a really deep voice. So for me, it's just that little bit too hard to really understand. Yep. Like, I can't speak with him in the next room and just yell out something. I need to be like face to face, 100% focused.
You need to like lip read as well.
Yeah. And we did for a bit, and then I just found myself getting really frustrated with him and with myself, for not being able to understand. Yeah. So it was like, all right, no, I don't want to spend like negative times with, a person I care about and enjoy being with and, live with. So it's not good to create an atmosphere of negativity. Yeah. But then again, it's like, that's also, I'm not using as much Spanish as I could be, because I could be speaking with him all the time. So
but if you're practicing anyway, like, you never know who you're going to be in 5 years' time and how good your Spanish will be.
Yeah.
What you want to do then.
Yeah, I think like the trick is, if you're finding something like negative like that, where it's maybe not doing that, but also setting aside time elsewhere to actually work on the same thing. So, if you're, let's just say like my brother, for example, plays a lot of video games. Like if I found like, I was wasting a lot of time playing video games on my own, and I was like, this isn't helping me at all. I've just wasted 4 hours doing whatever.
Yeah.
It's very different if I go and play with him, and then it's like, okay,
a social thing.
Yeah, it's a social thing.
Yeah.
I'm bonding with him and whatnot. So it's like also, stop that negative thing, but I guess like take it and use that time elsewhere, maybe doing something very similar.
Yeah, but in another way that's a bit more productive in your life.
Exactly. So I'll finish off with a couple of just sort of random questions that I like to dive into. So we were just talking about sort of goal setting and whatnot. So do you have a method or any particular ways that you set goals for yourself and it can be whatever, like, long-term, short-term, life goals?
I do what feels good in the moment, and I do that. I've done that more and more since my daughter was born, and it just works for me. Like I mentioned crochet before, it doesn't sound like a goal, but it's actually quite meditative. Like I spend an hour pretty much every night. I'm just there making knots, and I end up with like a little creation, and I feel like I've created something as well, and it's been easy. There's no pressure on it. It's not like when I write, I enjoy it, but also there's a bit of pressure because I guess that's the creative thing I'm kind of known for. Whereas this is just a brand new thing I'm mucking around with.
So it sounds almost like, follow your passions. If you're passionate about something.
If I was going to have a goal, it's to have fun in life. And so I need to do something to meet that goal. Like I don't want to just have hard slog all the time and look back at my life and think, oh, well, I should have done this, could have done that. That would have been a good idea. So, I mean, that's I know a different goal to what you probably mean, where you're setting like
like I'm going to
hard
run
achieving.
No, that's good as well though. I mean, just speaking with you, I think your sort of personality and just you as a person, you naturally just go out and do things. Like, would you say I
find that works out well in the end. When I don't listen to that, I end up doing that thing anyway, but it just takes a lot longer. So you might as well just, and you get that impulse to do something. I'm lucky my husband's been the same. So we got married young, had the impulse to do that, moved to the UK together quite impulsively, came back to Australia, moved to Sydney impulsively. We never lived there before. We just bought a COVID farm, so we've moved out there. We have no idea about farming, no idea what we're doing, but we're learning and it's fun. So it just feels fun again. Like after a while, you keep living in the same place or doing the same thing, life can feel a bit stagnant. So just doing something random to mix it up goes a long way. I've just been changing my commute to work lately for no reason, and just made me think a bit more while I'm driving. I'm like, oh, I should go this way. And I don't know, it's just a little boring thing, but it changes up my morning. By the time I get to work, I feel like I've accomplished something because I have a new map in my head of how to get there.
I actually just had a thought this morning where, so I sort of like review other people's podcasts because I like, just seeing what other people are doing and then also like spreading some love. So I'll leave them a nice review and whatnot.
Podcast karma.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it does tend to come around as well. And I was just realizing like all the time, like I'll sort of like leave them a review and then I'll just send them like, hey, I really enjoyed your podcast. Like left you a review on iTunes so they can go and see it and whatnot. 'Cause sometimes it's like hidden in the data. And I just realized like this morning, wait, why don't I just send an audio message? I can do that on Instagram and it's way more genuine. It's actually quicker. I'm not writing the same thing every single time. And it's just those small little moments where you do something like a little bit different. And you're like, oh, wait, this
actually worked out.
Yeah, there's fun. And it's just a small moment. Like, it's 2 minutes of my day, if that, but it's just something new. Like you're driving somewhere new. It's just,
it's like human connection as well, which is important. So,
yeah, for sure. Books, you mentioned a couple before. So the, what was it? Born to Run was...
Yeah, Christopher McDougall, Born to Run.
Have you had any other like really impactful books upon your life? Or I guess something that just captured your attention like so deeply. One of those books where you're reading it and it's like, I've got work in 10 minutes, but I can't.
Have you read James Joyce Ulysses?
I haven't. I've read Portrait of an Artist by him, but not Ulysses.
So it takes on that character, Stephen Dedalus, into Ulysses. And that's just such a great book. So.
And it's sort of based around the Odyssey, right? Because I read the Odyssey not too long ago.
Yeah. So it's like the modern day version,
Yeah.
set in Ireland. That was kind of his intention, and it's written as a stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
So it's similar to that portrait of the artist as a young man. And, you know, that stream of consciousness, what we we're talking about before, like your mind's just going all over the place when you're running. And so that's the same kind of, you're reading and you don't know what's happening really, but you get it. Like, you're like, I know what he's doing here. I know what he's saying. And he's showing there's no like one straight path in life. Like you just go all over the place and you meander around. But yeah, so it's a modern day version of Odyssey. So I can't remember who Stephen is, but the other main character, Leopold Bloom, he is Ulysses or Odysseus.
Yeah.
His wife Molly is Penelope.
Yeah.
But you know how Penelope waited 20 years and fended off all the suitors.
Yeah.
And stayed loyal to her husband. Ulysses is set in one day in Dublin, June the 16th, and on that day Molly's going to have an affair. Leopold knows about it. Things unfold around that. Stephen's in the background there. He meets Leopold towards the end. They just sort of go through Dublin physically and, you know, mentally as well, just going around talking about prejudices of the day. But it's all done through stream of consciousness. So you have to, you know, it's not this that happened, then this happened.
Yeah.
It's like people's reactions to something, and then you kind of got to work out what happened, why is he reacting like that? That's a bit odd.
Yep.
So it's a bit of a find your own mystery book. It takes forever to read, a long time. And I was very lucky at uni. I did an English lit degree. So I got to study it, and that was really like an awesome way to get into that book.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and I was lucky enough in Ireland. I went, so that one day in June is called Bloom's Day in Ireland.
Oh, okay. So you
I went over there,
and
did a walk that Leopold Bloom had done, like through those same streets. And that was really fun. That was great.
Yeah, I like when I was traveling, there was a couple of moments where I'd go to like certain places where I read from that that book I was telling you about just before, A Dead Bat in Paraguay, and it's like, oh, he was here, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
This is really cool.
And it's these exact same streets. It's amazing.
Yeah. I was reading what was it? Emile Zola's Therese Rakin, which is like it's sort of like I guess like an affair. A young lady has an affair with a sort of like peasant worker, and they murder her husband, and it's like all around in France, and it's just so detailed with the streets. And I was just I was going on to Google View, like on the Street View, and just sort of like reliving it, going through it and clicking it. So I'd sort of like read a passage of the book where they're next to one of the many rivers, the Rue or whatever.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Just go in there and it's like, oh, okay, I sort of see like you can actually live that now.
Yeah.
And I actually recommend that to people. Like if you're reading a book which is based on like physical locations, get up Street View. You can do it, and you can sort of
it's actually a really good idea.
Yeah, you can sort of
feel
just
like you're in that moment a bit more.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. How did you actually find reading a book like that for English literature where you're really deep diving? Because one of the things I find a problem with sometimes is it sort of takes like the enjoyment out of reading the book as well, like people deconstructing it too much. What were your experiences with that? Like, I suppose when you first started, did you just read the book first, or
we used to have to do a novel a week? So you have to read, which was awesome because it got up your
reading hours. Yeah, you're going to do that.
Yeah, you got through books, and you got books in your head, and you got to experience them. And in hindsight, like best degree, that was so much fun doing that.
But would you do something, for example, like a chapter by chapter analysis? So you read a chapter and then you do analysis, and then
it was more an overarching kind of. Probably didn't, some books they went into that kind of detail.
Yeah.
But it was always to explain a point. So I quite enjoyed learning about that and why the author was doing that, where they were in their headspace at the time. Because you did Dracula recently.
Yeah.
Have you read The Monk by Matthew Lewis?
No.
It's a Gothic novel. It's controversial back in the day. So it was written by a guy when he was 19. So it's full of sex.
Yeah.
Like for a Gothic novel.
Okay,
they managed to pack that in there. So it's super controversial. But yeah, so deconstructing a lot of that, because when it's written, in the Gothic era, they say things but we don't understand what they are. So we had to learn about what that actually meant and why it was so shocking back in the day.
Yeah, that see, I can get into that sort of thing where it's like given the sort of whole context behind it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's
you can drill down way too finicky. You can do that on anything.
Yeah.
Running, like you can analyze your gait to the nth degree and be like, oh, my foot should be back this tiny bit more. But
yeah. When it's
go as far as it feels good and then stop.
Exactly, and that's just one thing that humans are good at. You analyze too much, and then you take the joy out of something, and it's like, oh wait, I don't want to do that.
But a bit of analysis is good too. So it's just finding that balance,
mixing those two. And I suppose the last one I've really been getting into recently is just role models. Do you have any like particular role models who like influence your life a lot? And this can be like, virtual as well, or fictional, or even just like traits of people.
No, not really.
No, nothing.
No, I think sort of what we've covered. I do a lot of trial and error in life, and just
so you're finding your own path in a way, and
I mean, it's probably not strictly true. Like I hear things that people say, and I really gel with that, and I take that on board. But it's no one person, I would say, that like I've tried to emulate, or I've loved their life so much that I want to do things in a similar way to make my own life good. I guess I like to go, as cheesy as this sounds, I like to go within a lot more, and that's what running's done for me. It's when you run endurance, it's your whole life packed into one race. So you get those highs and lows. You feel really good, and then you feel really bad, and then you pull yourself out of it and feel really good again. And that's all going inside of you, and it's finding those demons come out again and facing them and accepting them and letting them flow through and just going through like that. And I don't know, maybe that's why runners feel so awesome at the end of it all, because you've just gone through like Odysseus' journey back to Ithaca, essentially, in your own little world. Yeah,
it's like a double journey. There's the physical one, and then there's the mental one. It's
absolutely a double journey, yeah. I'd say it's more mental than physical.
I think I'm starting to appreciate that as well. I'm only doing 5K, so it's not that.
It's not only, that's still huge.
Yeah. When you compare it to, and I shouldn't be comparing. That's silly. It's
easy to compare as well.
It is, and sometimes it's useful and sometimes it's not as well. So the learning from all of this is life is a flux. It's in between everything. So sometimes it's one thing and sometimes it's another, and you just got to get used to that.
I think that's why when you're in the moment of something, you can respond in the best way at that time.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether you're meant to respond a bit more from your head or a bit more from your feelings of something.
Yeah, awesome. This was so much fun, Tanya. I had a lot of fun. And covered.
Because life is meant to be fun.
Yes, exactly. We should do it more. So if people wanted to learn more about you or connect with you, where would you suggest they go?
My website is australianfoodie.com.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on Instagram at australianfoodie. You'll get me that way.
Yeah, if you see her running around.
Yeah, if you see someone running around eating a triple cheeseburger at the same time. Because that's the whole food and on ultra running. When else can you eat a triple cheeseburger if you haven't just done 80K?
Exactly.
Justified.
If there's ever a reason to you need a reason to like eat it in public and people are watching. It's like, I just ran 100Ks. Come on. Yeah. Perfect. So I'll include those in the show notes, and so wherever people are listening or watching this, they can find those and connect with you. No, thank you. So much fun. Much fun.
I had fun too.
All right, we'll leave it there for today.
Awesome. Thanks, Kyron.